Yeah, let's do it. Okay, we're about to get started. If we could rise for the pledge for our special, meeting today. Diane, would you like to lead us in the pledge? Yes, I would. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, this is the opening to our Community Development Agency, special town board meeting of Wednesday, November 7th, 2018 at 6 p.m. Diane, I will turn it over to you for correspondence.
Okay. Under correspondence, we have a letter from John McAuliffe with observations regarding CAT's Q&E, and a letter from Rex Farr of the Coalition Against EPCAL Housing, and he is expressing, or I should say they are expressing opinions regarding the decision by the Ethics Board. That's it.
And if I can just ask that the testimony given this afternoon from John Cullen at the end of the town board meeting be made part of the minutes for this meeting as requested. Thank you.
Larry, there's a lot of feedback. Dawn, did you wanna?
If Diane's got the agenda, then I think we're just gonna do comments on resolution.
Yep.
Okay, then we'll start.
Okay, we will start the meeting. If anybody would like to come up and comment on any resolutions, on the agenda. If you are going to come up and comment, we actually are going to have you just, for expediency's sake, after you are done, just state your name when you're up there, and then when you're finished, if you could just fill out a card, with your name on it, so we have the correct spelling for our record.
Can I interrupt for a second?
Yes.
Just for the record,
I don't think they can hear you, Frank, so.
Walk up to the table.
The table right there, Mike.
just for the record, the resolution that you have before you tonight on the, CDA's agenda regarding the, qualified and eligible hearing, there's been two corrections that, have been made and I've distributed to the board, at the dais. And they're simply, in the second whereas clause, there was in the, fifth line, a reference to a specific amount of acreage, and it's been changed to a plus or minus reference, which is consistent with the rest of the resolution. And at the very end of that same whereas, the, description of the intended use plan is conformed to the wording in the agreement. And it had not been that way, in the prior draft that you saw, and that's the only two changes.
Okay, thank you very much.
And Ms. Weissler, we also have a second resolution here tonight to authorize the supervisor to sign a deed from the Community Development Agency to the town of Riverhead for the purposes of the recreation trail and obtaining grant funding. Can I have your opinion on that as to whether or not that is?
Would you, I mean, I'll be happy to give it to you. Do you wanna do this resolution first and then we'll talk about yours, or you wanna?
This one I think is going first, right?
No,
Diane, do you?
that wasn't the plan we have. It hasn't been distributed, it hasn't been untabled, it hasn't been anything.
So my suggestion is, I'll be happy to do it, but why don't we do this one first?
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And I'm just gonna say, we're also asking everybody to keep their comments to 5 minutes.
Okay, just a second. Sid Vale, president of the Wading River Civic Association. In 1994, the Grumman Corporation closed its plant in Calverton. Riverhead and the region suffered a huge loss of quality jobs related to aviation research, development, and the manufacturing of equipment for the aviation industry. Today, we have a firm, Calverton Aviation and Technology, LLC, or CAT, proclaiming that their reuse plan is perfectly in line with the property's intended purpose. Calverton Aviation and Technology has submitted to the town of Riverhead an overview of their preliminary plans to build a minimum of 1 million square feet of development at EPCAL within the next 5 years. The town of Riverhead must now decide whether or not to designate Calverton Aviation and Technology a qualified and eligible sponsor to purchase 1,643 acres of land at EPCAL. It is our belief that the town of Riverhead should not authorize the sale of land at EPCAL to CAT under the existing terms of sale, which we contend are flawed. The terms of sale do not prevent Calverton Aviation Technology from revising their development plan and including development proposals that are at odds with the property's intended purpose. This has happened before at EPCAL. The Recla deal in 2010 started out as a 300-acre industrial park and was later altered to a smaller industrial park plus 1,000 rental housing units. We propose that the town should not authorize the sale of any EPCAL land to Calverton Aviation Technology until the following covenants are part of any contract or accompanying document. Such covenants would run with the land regardless of who owns it. The covenants are as follows. 1, the use of the property be limited to aviation industry-related manufacturing. 2, commercial aviation not directly connected with aviation-related manufacturing be prohibited. 3, all residential housing, including supportive housing, be prohibited. We also ask the town board to further consider the inclusion of 2 additional covenants. Casino gambling, games of chance, wagering in sports, betting in any form be prohibited, and land deemed undevelopable by the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation at the time of sale be excluded from the contract. Thank you in advance for your consideration of this matter. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sid.
Good evening, Rex Farr, Coordinator for the Coalition Against Housing at EPCAL. The Coalition Against EPCAL Housing believes that this vote is perhaps the most significant vote in our town's history. Our future, the future of our children, our grandchildren, the future of Suffolk County, the future of Long Island will be forever impacted by your vote this evening. We in the Coalition believe there are several reasons why each of you should vote no on the determination and qualified and eligible. The CDA must formally determine if this company is qualified and eligible to take this land. Here's a review of the Q&E rules and procedures and the failure of CAT to meet them. First, I would like to note the wording in the resolution actually permit housing, and that is the reason the coalition existed. Number 1, experience with projects of similar scope and size. Number 2, the ability to finance the acquisition and development of proposed projects and proposed security for the project. Number 3, demonstrated integrity and responsibility. And 4, those are the 3 that I wanted to mention. There will be speakers following me, members of the coalition, that will go in depth to these particular reasons. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Phil Barbado. I'm president of the Riverhead Neighborhood Preservation Coalition, and I'd like to address one of the points related to the rule and the procedure in the CDA code that talks about experience with projects of similar scope and size. I think most importantly, we still don't know exactly what the project is that's being proposed here. Therefore, if we don't know what the project is, it's completely impossible to determine whether CAT is qualified and eligible to undertake it. The written descriptions, as well as testimony presented at the Q&E hearings, are just too vague, they lack substance, and are without any commitment to complete on their part. Secondly, we still don't know what will be developed, who will do the construction, or what will be produced. Apparently, from presentations that were very vague, there's a phase 1, and that will take approximately 5 years to complete, and it will produce a building on about 7 acres of the total of 1,643 that they'd be buying, which is less than 5% of the total. But we don't know what will be done with the rest of the land. Of over 1,635 acres, what's gonna be done with that? We don't know. And therefore, a reasonable person cannot judge if they're qualified and eligible to do the project if we simply don't know what the project is.
Thank you.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. My name is Takvi Turchin. I'm representing Calverton Civic, members of the coalition. To follow what Phil has said and what Rex has said, my part is, CAT has not demonstrated experience in the aviation industry. Purchasing an aviation school and leasing runways are not evidence of ability to build an industry from the ground up. 555's development experience is limited to shopping malls and gambling casinos in Canada and the US. They may have informal arrangements with some tech companies, but none of their own experience in the aerospace or technical industries. What assures us that 555 will not build 1 million square foot of warehouse space and fix up the runways and then sit on the land until political situation in Riverhead and population growth of the region offer opportunities to construct housing, an entertainment retail mall, or to create a gaming complex. Based on news reports that gaming is likely to become a feature of the Meadowlands American dream in the next decade, the great success of Jake's 58, the Jamaican's history of investment in gambling in Las Vegas, is Riverhead protected from being pressured to accept gaming as has been advocated by past developers? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Linda Nemeth. I live in Calverton. I've been a member of the Calverton Civic, CAEH, and the RNPC. The ability to finance the acquisition and development of the proposed project and proposed security for the project. CAT has still not complied with the CDA's demands for additional financial data. They've only presented some vague letters from financial institutions stating that they have financial resources or promises of future loans for the purchase price and possibly the construction of phase 1. So how will the rest of the project be financed? Furthermore, the contract specifically excludes the requirement for the town to be given financial security or for CAT to be held financially accountable for non-performance. So the town has no recourse if CAT develops nothing and produces no tax revenue to the town. CAT has stated on the record that they will apply for any and all tax breaks they can get, and this is their track record as evidenced by their work in other locales. Thank you.
Thank you.
Angela DeVito, member of the Greater Jamesport Civic Association, former member of the Riverhead Town IDA and its treasurer, and a member of the coalition. Paul Simon had a great song when you want to get out of a situation that you know is wrong, and it's called 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover. I think this board has been given sufficient reasons to vote no this evening on the determination for qualified and eligible. In addition to what has already been said and entered into the record, it's worthwhile to repeat that the Chief Financial Officer for the Community Development Agency, William Rothar, has not issued any formal statement that has been made available to the public that addresses the financial viability of the applicant. The silence, as we see it from the CFO, gives the appearance that he, who is the expert in this area, the expert in terms of finance, economics, accounting, is unsure about the ability of the applicant to finance with their own funds the project to its full conclusion. Secondly, the applicant has stated on more than one occasion that the funding for the project will be drawn from public monies to the greatest extent feasible. This means that we, the residents of Riverhead, will be paying for the development of EPCAL. If we want to spend our tax dollars on this property for its development, why put it up for sale? but finance and manage it ourselves. Thirdly, 555 has taken on in the last several years large-scale entertainment retail projects in Chicago, the Vista Tower, $900 million, Los Angeles, One Beverly Hills, $1.2 billion, and Miami, American Dream, $4 billion, and has yet to complete its Meadowlands, New Jersey project part. How can Riverhead be confident that the actual development here will not be based on 555's proven entertainment retail model, and that it will be a priority for investment in comparison with these other projects? There's one other point that I'd like to add, is that due to the elite status of this property as an opportunity zone, any buyer that holds onto this property for 10 years will pay zero capital gains when they sell or exchange it. It remains unclear if the opportunity zone status will trump land protection. It has been well documented how 555 is excellent on holding on to properties until their value increases significantly. Should aviation research and development not come to fruition, it could be a seamless process for 555 to then build the housing or mega entertainment centers that they are known for. As we all know, with this EPCAL process, 10 years can come and go very quickly. Thank you, and I hope this evening all of you will vote no.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Paul Farrell. I'm a Jamesport resident. I've lived in Riverhead for 25 years and sent my kids to school here. I'm not a member of a civic association. I don't pretend to be a lawyer. I'm not parsing every word of this contract. But what I do know is I've watched this project or variations of EPCAL for every year that I've lived in Riverhead. This is the best, most viable, smartest use of this property that I can imagine. I can't understand why we sit here and say we should manage this, we should hold on to this. It's got potential that we're not realizing, because it's like when I tell people when they're selling their house, your house is worth what someone will pay for it. These are the people who are willing to pay for this project. They're willing to build it, and I don't know why we're gonna sit here and dither and dither and dither. And when I retire and leave Riverhead, I'd like to see something there. I'd like to see that great gift that we were given be optimized, and this is our best chance to do it. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Mark Hobner, Haubner. I'm the Vice President of the North Fork Environmental Council, and I'm here to represent the board and all of its members. And we are in full support of the coalition. NFPC has been included in all of the EPCAL communications, discussions, and meetings for the last year. We find the applicant's integrity questionable. The honesty of any applicant that offers to give us money to finish public works projects like the EPCAL ball fields in return for 5 yes votes is questionable. 555 is expert at manipulating local governments so that they get very sweet land deals like EPCAL and very low taxes. They've done it all over North America. The evidence for this is plain. Look at where 555 has operated elsewhere, and Riverhead is now the next local government on their list of business conquests. The original purchaser in this deal was Luminati Aerospace, whose chief officer is Daniel Preston. 555 came along, partnered with Luminati, and then formed a new corporation for this purchase, CAT. On more than one occasion in the past 7 months, they have characterized Mr. Preston as crazy, a nutcase, and that he will have no voice in their decisions. This is the person they will retain to develop the EPCAL site. Linda Prizer has submitted summaries of court cases involving Preston in the past, and I would like Takwi Turchin to read these briefly for the record.
Thank you, Takwi Turchin, once again for Calverton Civic and the CAEH, Calverton Citizens Against EPCAL Housing. The words from Linda Prizer, who is the member of Northfield Beach Civic Association, also members of CAEH, are the following. Madam Supervisor and council members, while most of us are primarily concerned with 555 and its plans for EPCAL, I respectfully ask that you remember the name Daniel Preston. He and his company, Luminati, are the ones with whom the town actually has the contract of sale. He is still a principal and necessary player. He is a 25% owner of 555 Realty, whether or not 555 attempts to sweep him under the rug and emasculate him. As such, I submit that Daniel Preston's integrity and qualifications must be considered in making your final decision. Almost a year ago, I presented to you materials I had found searching court and county clerk's documents. Daniel Preston has a mechanics lien against him filed in the office of the Suffolk County Clerk on August 8th, 2016. The lien is against not only him, but his property. I checked it this morning. It still hasn't been satisfied. It is in the sum of $22,500. With statutory interest of 9% per annum, he now owes over $26,550 to a company which probably delivers materials and performed work, only to be disregarded when payment was requested. If Daniel Preston doesn't have $26,550 to settle his accounts, or if he simply doesn't want to pay his bills he incurs, why is he qualified to be a partner in a multi-million-dollar enterprise? In addition to the mechanics lien, I pointed out several other lawsuits involving Daniel Preston around New York State and in Delaware. I asked how these cases had been resolved. There has never been an answer to my questions. Some of the cases were settled, some were tried. Daniel Preston even appears to have been sued by an attorney's firm, Smallins and Gorelick versus Preston, New York County Civil Court. Whether this firm previously represented him or was suing to enforce an award of counsel fees against him is unknown. But again, Daniel Preston failed to make required payments. The cases I cited were in Manhattan and Brooklyn. Since New York County clerks and Kings County clerks' records cannot be accessed online, I cannot ascertain whether Daniel Preston paid any judgments rendered against him or whether there are other judgments or liens still outstanding against him in either of these counties. Preston was sued by two of his former companies, Preston Glass and Ater Aerospace Inc. He was also sued in Delaware Chancery Court regarding his refusal to close on a deal regarding the sale of his liquor company, Widow Jane Bourbon. The suit was settled on undisclosed terms. Preston has made outrageous statements and claims regarding his past, his education, and his businesses. He claims to have completed only 5 grades of school and then been sent to college, a claim which he refuses to substantiate. He claims to have owned several successful businesses. More thorough investigations have shown that these businesses have failed or didn't even exist during the time frames he has set out. All in all, it appears that Daniel Preston cannot be trusted, does not pay his bills, has no idea how to run a successful business. Is this man qualified and eligible to be given the right to purchase EPCAL? Thank you.
And finally, throughout the 2 hearings on the qualified and eligible application of Illuminati and Cat LLC, the reputation of these organizations has been characterized as questionable. Reams of documents have unequivocally demonstrated the applicant's questionable business reputation. Integrity and responsibility are important requirements of being found qualified and eligible. Based on news reports of sworn testimony of bribery by 555 representatives in Las Vegas, $350,000 of political contributions in New Jersey, and use of campaign donations to punish officials who voted against them or opposed use of public money in Miami, how can we be confident that their presence as Riverhead's largest landowner and taxpayer will not be a disruptive influence? These are not the people we should be partnering with on a project of this magnitude. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is George Barnick from Calverton. I think what I am going to be saying here tonight is going to be more of a question than a statement. I recently had a conversation with somebody, a town official, who is directly involved with this project. And the statement that I made to this person was that why are people so concerned with the development at EPCAL if the development is limited to 600 acres? And this person looked at me and said, where are you getting this number 600 acres from? Well, I had heard of it a number of times, and then I went back to a News Review article of August 23rd, 2018, and it states town officials have said a total of 600 acres of the property are developable. And furthermore, the article says, this is a statement by Mr. Benenstock, a map included in the analysis outlines where each phase would be placed on the property. The development totals 434 acres. What I don't understand is why, and I went through this very thoroughly today. It makes a very interesting read if anybody wants to get a good headache. This is the agreement of sale, and there is no mention at all of a limitation to 600 acres. I would like, is there somebody who would be willing to clarify why that is the case? The resolution tonight implies that Calverton Industry, Calverton is technology is able to develop 1,600 acres of the property.
The sale is for the 1,643 acres, and the amount that will be finally developable is undetermined at this time.
And why has the statement been made in the paper that there are only 600 acres that can be developed? Wouldn't it be smart to have a clarification of that before this proceeds any further? Shouldn't there be an understanding and like on page 23, purchases, representations, and covenants, I would think that would be...
That was not negotiated in the contract. In the definitive agreement of principle that I have before me for you, there was no acreage that was set aside as undevelopable.
Under the circumstances, I mean, I did some very simple calculations. Take it for what it's worth. If the property were sold $40 million, 600 acres, that would be $67,000 of usable, that would be the price per acre of usable acreage. If there is no understanding of a limitation to how much acreage can be developed, it comes out to like $24,500 an acre. I don't see where this could possibly be in the best interest of Riverhead.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Marilyn Banks Winter, and I am a resident here in Riverhead. I have deep roots, as you all know, here in Riverhead, and I'm also a business owner. To our town supervisor and to our distinguished board, please accept my comments in objection to the sale of the property of EPCAL to Illuminati and the owner, Daniel Preston et al., 555, AKA, I'm hoping I'm saying this right, Germazian? Okay, thank you. 555 et al. And the family. And also to Aviation and Technology LLC, all of their hopes to create Calverton Aviation Technology, CAT. There is still a lot of unanswered questions. This to me feels like a hostile takeover under the auspices of multiple name changes and private unorthodox meetings just to win the prize of EPCAL property. 40 million cash to purchase over 1,600 acres. Who will pay the taxes? We do not want to give totality to these individuals who have not proven anything in development according to code. And what is best for Riverhead? A $4 million deposit should be 10% of the asking price, not $500,000. Nothing is written in stone until it is signed into a contract. Remember that. That property should be leased until the potential buyer proves itself. Illuminati claims to manufacture solar electric drone planes, which supposed to beam wireless internet down to Earth, but claim that battery power density is not predicted to be adequate for 7 to 10 years. What purpose is this if they cannot produce immediate results? They made a model, have it displayed, and hyped it up, but does not legitimately show success. Have they shown documentation proof of defense contracting? Have they sold any of their compost structural aircraft parts they claim to have manufactured at Plant 6 facility to anyone, to the partner through venture capital? I'm sorry. to the Defense Department, to DOE, foreign companies, to anyone? If so, is there proof? They have partnered through venture capital with this company to purchase the remaining land. Do we want to sell to someone with the thought of what if or maybe so? The purchase to include the runway to move their product but excludes others from use has to be looked into. This family are shopping mall owners and operators, hotel operators, and real estate company. What significant government sales tax incentives are being offered to them? I have been told by industry leaders that they are great negotiators, very persuasive and hard as nails political and legal operators. They have built many malls to include Minnesota, Mall of America, and Canada. Is it safe to say they build malls and theme parks, but also pharmaceutical and industrial manufacturing business with the intention of real estate sales for those entities? Who's to say they will not resell or default? Are there safeguards in place? They claim they will not build a mall to compete with our Tanger or theme parks, to compete with Splish Splash. Maybe not, but likely they do have oil and gas division, nuclear energy, engineering firms, but have you dug in deep to see whom they are importing and exporting to? Will they expect as their previous contracts for local taxpayers to pitch in by providing things like street improvements and upgrades to parking as garages? In previous contracts, they look to push public monetary involvement and not private from their own pockets. Their financial troubles will have killed projects in British Columbia and the UK.
We're at the 5-minute mark.
Okay, we're at the 5-minute. Let me go down then. Okay. Basically, Riverhead is not desperate and should not be deemed such. Everyone wants to develop on EPCAL. We are collectively saying no to this deal. We need full assessment of the property in its full development state before selling it as piecemeal or patchwork. We need companies who will ensure that construction comes from companies in Riverhead, employees are hired in Riverhead, and the money stays in Riverhead. Local project, local jobs help the local economy, is a win-win for Riverhead, and it is good business. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. First of all, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. My name is Christopher Amplo. I'm a local resident and also a business owner in the town. I've heard a lot of discussion this evening about negatives of this project. Only a few people have the positives. I feel it is important to discuss some of those positives that have not been highlighted. First of all, the immediate financial impact to Riverhead, the surrounding towns on Long Island, in the way of construction jobs, tax revenue, millions upon millions of dollars spent in additional sales in our local communities. Let us not be blind to the fact that Long Island is losing residents. Millennials are moving off the island to chase a life that they cannot afford in our towns. This project will give the east end of Long Island the much-needed shot in the arm to attract young, talented people and give the local Long Island younger generations the ability to have opportunities that will allow them to plant roots in our community, purchase homes, and raise a family. Long Island needs this project. Riverhead needs this project. Our children, grandchildren, and future generations need this project. I will argue that 555 has a long-standing history that proves that they are the right choice at this time for this development. These smear tactics at 555 are nothing more than an attempt at dragging this project through more red tape and delays that our community cannot afford. Wake up, Riverhead. The only vote is yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Elizabeth Dickinson. I am a member of the Preservation Coalition, and I do not live in Riverhead. I love Riverhead. I cannot imagine why a project such as this would want to come in here. You would then change this entire landscape and cause people like myself, my friends, my relatives, who come here for many different reasons to say, oh my God, what happened, what happened, what happened? This is a time for us to really reevaluate the project carefully, find the right people who should do the correct thing here, and definitely say no to this project at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to?
Yes.
I'm just gonna ask people to refrain from clapping after the speaker so that we can
Oh, sure, when I get up.
Sorry.
Thanks. That's why I got up.
Didn't
No,
mean
I'm
to do
done.
that.
Good evening. My name is William Charles Van Helman. I'm the current president of the Jamesport Civic Association. I also served on lots of other boards here in this community, as well as I'm a business owner for 37 years. I'm a main road property owner. I'm a concerned citizen and a taxpayer like pretty much everybody else in here. I've just been taking some notes, so bear with me. But I think we all agree that we would like to see something done, even if it's with 555, if they would only disclose what we're reasonably asking. In return, for all of us making EPCAL together a jewel for everybody. The money involved, whether it's 40 million, 200 million, whatever it is, and a development of the property, everybody's going to win. 555 will win, and Riverhead residents will win because it's a really unique entity and project that can be executed. But I'm hearing a lot of numerous people, residents, or groups with their concerns, and they're saying that this entity should be denied. I haven't heard a lot of support. I think there should be some support, but maybe not with this specific plan that's going on right now. Now, I'm speaking only on my own, but through this whole process, the transparency of 555 has been very weak at best. We've had difficulty in obtaining information from them and lack of information from them. I'm not sure why that's occurring, and I wish they would have given all the stuff that was requested. It might make this whole process a lot easier. It creates a lack of character, in my opinion, and the integrity with them a few times during the process is questionable, and actually it creates like an arrogant stance. And nobody likes arrogance, it's a negative. And we gotta be positive if we're gonna develop this property with whatever entity that it is. Now, $40 million is not much, it's a lot of money, but not to squall out. But this same group got involved right after we signed into doing this whole procedure with Dowling College. And I don't know if anybody remembers that, but they purchased that for 14 million, and it's a fraction of the size of what we're dealing here and selling. And one gentleman pointed out what the acreage price is. I wonder what the acreage price is on that. But it's kind of a slap in the face to all of us, because if they're willing to pay that for that property, why not here? That's a concern I have. I would recommend that they have a little more compassion and concern for us, and we can do so for them, and then we can possibly work to create a direction to make it happen with them if they deem to do so. I can't speak on their behalf. I don't recall what this clawback provision is if they default. What happens? Do we have to give them back the money? Also, if they're making payments and moving forward, if they don't come up with the full 40 million, what happens if they do default? We don't get the rest of the money. We're kind of very vulnerable, and as a business owner, that's really not a good position to be in my opinion. I don't even want to get into that. This whole question of the 1,600 acres when it started at 600 is disturbing. You know, we need to really know what it is, you know, and are they developing the 1600? I thought it was DEC controlled and that they can't, but now they can, or maybe they can persuade them, I don't know. And if they can develop more than the core, do we get a stipend for that? You know, why can't we get something for that if they can develop more than what they initially were trying to buy? That's just a good, smart business deal for all of us, for them as well as us. I just feel Riverhead itself deserves to be treated better, and we should demand that. It's not asking too much to be treated fairly. That's all I'm saying.
Just so you know, you're coming up to the vote.
I'm not surprised. All right. So I'll just end it with this. For all that's involved with this right now and all the uncertainties and the character issues, I would love to see the project move forward, but I just think at this time, with all these loopholes and gray areas, I think the CDA really has no option but to deny this unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Ethel Sussman, South Jamesport. I'll be brief. This project has been tainted from its very inception, going back to the previous administration and Sean Walter and his maneuverings and the denial of information about other bids and so on. No need to recap the whole thing, we all know about it. I don't understand why people keep saying this is the only deal, this is the only deal, take the money and run. We don't know that it's the only deal because it's never been marketed properly and honestly in a straightforward manner. I don't think it's the only deal. I think it's another instance of Riverhead settling and not going for the best. And I think it's time for Riverhead to stop settling. You know, we need to get the very best deal we can, no matter how long it takes to get it, to look into this deal thoroughly, and to open it all up to the light of day. And so I urge all of you to vote an emphatic no on this project. Thank you.
Hi, Bob Curran, Riverhead. I wasn't really planning on speaking, but a couple of comments I want to make to some of the comments that were made. Concerning character assassinations on David Preston, I don't know him.
Bob, you just have to address the board.
Oh, sorry. I would urge, whatever his name is, I would urge everybody in the room to Google any of the national brand companies that are here. There are a couple here, I don't want to mention the names, that this year alone have 5,000 lawsuits against them. And they're a big national chain, they're right here in Riverhead. Maybe we should consider getting rid of them. Get rid of your iPhones. There's millions of people suing iPhones. I have stayed in touch with 555 from the beginning. After the first Q&E hearing, when I heard people asking questions that were obviously answered in the presentation, there was already a negative against these people. I'm confident in the people that they've been contacting over the last 6 or 8 months are the right partners to move technology into this region. This is not an uncommon scenario. This happens all over the country. I would suggest that the people against this do more research and understand what this is all about. You know, this is like we're going from horses to cars. I want cars. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Supervisor and all council people. My name is Mario Matera. I'm with Plumbers Local 200. I represent 1,100 members, and 80% of our membership lives in the great county of Suffolk. You know, I've been listening to a lot of people tonight. These are good people. I've had numerous conversations with 555s, and I really have the confidence in them to move this forward. This is not the 300-foot ski mountain, that big white elephant, 7 years ago, that I was in the same room, that the check actually bounced across Route 58, if everybody remembers that. These are real people. They're really good people, and I tell you, I wasn't even going to get up and speak tonight because I was just listening to the residents, but really, I'm going to tell you something. They're willing to buy this property, to move forward. I have the confidence, the building trades has the confidence, that we are definitely going to be building this. The 1 million square feet first, I'm going to be asking, are we going to build this?
Mario, you need to adjust the voice.
I'm sorry about that, Supervisor, I'm sorry. But I'm telling you, I'm listening to all this. This property I drive through all the time. I'm a Suffolk County agent. I drive through, and it's been sitting stagnant. Yes, Engel Berman's over there. We're finally getting something going with Engel Berman, which is wonderful. This property needs to be developed. It's been sitting stagnant way too long. And you know, they're willing to buy it. I feel they have the confidence. I know the building trades does, because you know what it's going to do? It's going to create thousands of construction jobs. But what about the thousands and thousands of permanent jobs? That's going to bring revenue back into this town. And you know, please, I really feel we need to vote for this. Vote for this, yes. Let's move forward. And you know what? I know 555 is going to do a great job for our future of Suffolk County and Riverhead. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to address the board?
Good evening, Madam Supervisor, members of the Town Board. My name is Bob DeLuca. I serve as President of Group for the East End. For the record, Group for the East End is an organization dedicated to conservation and community planning across the 5 East End towns, and we have representative members from the town of Riverhead and Calverton. We've been involved in this project since the 1990s, but maybe more importantly, you know, I was a resident of this town for over 15 years, had a home here, started my family here, and I think maybe what you hear amidst the civic concern is part of the problem in my 15 years of living in this town was that Riverhead had multiple proposals for multiple things that were going to save the day, and many of them were flops. And that's not a criticism of you or even members of prior boards. It just seemed to go that way. That all kinds of things were tried here, stuff was sold here, ski mountains, as the gentleman just mentioned. You name it, it came to save Riverhead. And it was the place, as once was said, is the place where all bad ideas come to die. So you can understand that people are a little concerned about what you're wading into here, given all that's at stake. This is probably the largest land transfer that I could think of, at least in the East End, if not Suffolk County. You're handing it off to somebody, and I don't know all the details here, but obviously there are questions of issues of transparency. And for as many times as this town has guaranteed people this was going to be the thing that was going to work this time, I think people are rightly concerned about that. And they're rightly concerned about how far you go down this path when you don't have handles on acreage or finances. You know, I'm in the nonprofit business. I can't apply for a $10,000 grant without having to have 5 years of financial statements attached to it. I mean, that's just basic, you know, transparency. So all of those things you need to be considering as you contemplate moving forward with this. I don't think that the town is ready for this. And the other thing I will tell you, where I do have a personal involvement here, is on the protection of the grasslands and that facility, where we worked with multiple town boards over the years, tried to get something figured out, and everything just seemed to stall. I honestly think the best thing that you could do is to look at this plan as a town, hire somebody to work with you to figure out what it is that you want, to get the things out of it that you need, and then control the project down the line. Everyone is concerned about flipping it to somebody that they don't know, and Riverhead's history doesn't give them reason to feel any better about that. So I thank you for your time. I do hope you won't proceed with this, and I also support my colleagues in the Coalition for Housing Against EPCAL, which started at the very beginning because the town's original plan, which wasn't supposed to have housing, suddenly showed up with housing, and that didn't go away. So there's a lot of reasons for mistrust, and I hope you'll consider that in your deliberations. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to address the board?
Hi, my name is Joe Montalbano. I'm a Riverhead resident. I reside in Wading River. I just, listening to everybody in the room, I feel that the project really has to be built. It's been sitting so long. I remember when I first moved out here, I was seeing some of the jets take off, when it was still operating out there at Grumman. It's been sitting dormant. 555, I know them to be, good people. We spoke a lot, and I think they're credible. I think they're gonna do a great job. I know the contractor that they selected is a local Long Island contractor, and I know that they hire local people. And I just think that it's time to get something built out there and have the town start earning some tax revenue. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to comment? Seeing nobody, we will move on to resolutions.
Good evening, John Thomas, First CDA. This would be resolution number 10, and it's entitled, "A Resolution Designating Calverton Aviation and Technology LLC as a qualified and eligible sponsor for the purchase and development of approximately 1,643 plus or minus acres located within the premises known as Enterprise Park at Calverton, EPCAL, consistent with the goals and objectives of the Planned Development PD zoning district adopted on August 16th, 2016, the Town of Riverhead Comprehensive Master Plan as amended on August 2nd, 2016, and the Town of Riverhead Calverton Enterprise Park Urban Renewal Plan as amended on August 2nd, 2016.
And can I have a first and second for the resolution?
I'll move the resolution as read.
And do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a first and second discussion. I'd like to make a statement. When President Reagan was negotiating with the Soviet Union to end the Cold War, his philosophy was summarized in 3 words: trust but verify. That simple yet powerful approach was critical to make sure that policymakers didn't let the promise of a desired outcome blind them to objective reality. Today, the town of Riverhead finds itself at a crossroads. We want to sell EPCAL and return it to productive use. We know that with the right vision and partners, it can be an economic engine for the community that we love. We have struggled through more than 2 decades of starts and stops, and the idea of selling EPCAL to someone who says many of the right things is tempting. That is why I return to President Reagan's philosophy: trust but verify. While I want to trust 555's vision for EPCAL, they have repeatedly failed to give me the facts I need to verify it, especially in light of the documented experiences that other communities throughout the United States have had with them. Therefore, I must vote no on selling the remaining 1,600 acres to 555. First and foremost, while 555 says they are seeking to build an aviation and high-tech park, they have not provided any concrete plans to do so. Instead, the vast majority of their experience is in malls. They own 2 of North America's biggest malls, the Mall of America and the West Edmonton Mall in Canada. And they are presently developing a 3rd and 4th mall, the American Dream Mall in the Meadowlands and the American Dream Miami, which incidentally, they do have a ski mountain there at the American Dream Mall. But just because a company's primary experience is in developing malls, that doesn't mean that they can't do other things. However, given 555's lack of experience in developing aviation centers or high-tech industrial parks, it is incumbent that we verify their plans. I have spent the better part of my first year repeatedly asking for more information so I could do just that. And time again, my requests have been largely rebuffed. Simply put, I cannot verify exactly what 555 plans to do at EPCAL, and neither can really any member of this board. We can hope, we can trust, but we cannot verify. What we also know from 555's experience developing other properties is that they frequently require taxpayer subsidies. The Mall of America, which is unquestionably one of their greatest successes, only paid its first property taxes in 2016, more than 2 decades after opening its doors. While we are working hard to make Riverhead a destination for businesses, and we want to assist a strong private developer in creating good-paying jobs at EPCAL, we are not looking to subsidize a private developer. Also concerning is 555's partnership with Illuminati Aerospace, which has repeatedly made public claims which cannot be verified and often turned out to be either exaggerated or flat untrue. If the decision before me involved fewer acres, or if I possessed enough facts to have reasonable confidence that 555 could carry out its vision, I would happily cast a yes vote. However, voting to sell one of our community's cornerstone assets based on a leap of faith, lack of concrete information, and a contract that I inherited would be wildly irresponsible. So when it comes to me voting, I simply cannot and will not vote yes. I invite my fellow board members to join me and engage in a superior community-driven process that will give all Riverhead residents confidence in our diligence and in the outcome. However, if the town board votes against my position and sells the remaining 1,600 acres to EPCAL to 555, I will dedicate myself to ensuring the project's success, as long as 555 adheres to their stated vision and protects our taxpayers' dollars. I know that every member of this town board wants to see EPCAL serve as an economic engine for this town and for our whole region. And I know that after decades of starts and stops, that it is very tempting to want to finally say yes to something, to anything. However, I would urge everyone to remember those 3 words when you cast your vote: trust but verify. Does anybody want to discuss anything else?
Well, you made your vote already, you voted, so.
No, I did not make my vote already, I made my
The vote hasn't
statement.
come up yet.
The vote hasn't come up yet. Did anybody want to discuss anything else?
Make my speech tonight?
Okay.
I'll do my speech in time.
Okay, Diane, would you like to vote? First and seconded vote, please.
Do you want me to call or?
Okay,
you-
go ahead.
Okay. Kent?
Tonight we add another chapter in the history of the Grumman property gifted to us by the Navy 20 years ago and now known as EPCAL. Growing up in Riverhead, I recall hearing the sound of engines warming on the tarmac and of seeing F-14s fly over my family home. Our neighbors worked at Grumman in jobs that enabled them to support their families. Our town was proud of our contributions to aviation as various aircraft were built and tested at the Grumman plant. During the space race, Grumman built a mock-up of the lunar surface and tested the lunar roving vehicle. Many lunar astronauts were said to have visited the Calverton facility during that time. In 1996, the town was dealt a devastating blow when the newly formed Northrop Grumman Corporation vacated the site. Over the years, residents have had hopes of redevelopment dashed as one deal after another fell through. All of this history compounds the significance of tonight's vote. I'm confident that I have done my homework by reading all the documents, listening carefully to the information presented at the qualified and eligible hearings, and listening to the opinions of fellow residents. I feel prepared to make an informed decision on this matter. The question at hand is, has CAT demonstrated that they are qualified and eligible to purchase and develop this valuable piece of property? The contract was originally formed with Daniel Preston and his company of Illuminati. We soon learned that Mr. Preston had misrepresented himself and his qualifications, even going so far as to have a grand opening on the property without a certificate of occupancy. Months later, 555 came into the picture, and thus CAT was formed. Rather than putting in their own offer and competing with potential bidders, CAT chose to ride the coattails of the flawed Luminati contract. Despite having no confidence in their 25% partner, CAT chose to continue in this no-bid, below-market land deal with a bonus 1,000 acres thrown in. Why are we selling 1,643 acres if only 600 are developable? The town is still unsure of what this group is actually buying, as a 50-lot subdivision map is the only map that has gone through SEQR review. Since the FCAL property is in an urban renewal zone, CAT must demonstrate to us that they have a detailed development plan. The development plan presented by CAT is vague, lacks vision, and important details. We need this property to be a place that will help young families secure better paying jobs and afford them the ability to live here. With only a few small startup companies, it would appear that the most jobs will be short-term ones in construction. 555 CAT has experience building mega malls that produce low-paying retail jobs, but are they qualified to build a technology and manufacturing park that provides higher-paying jobs in technical fields? The property includes 2 runways, which makes it even more unique. When questioned about the repair needed to bring the runways up to par, CAT's answers were ambiguous, and the runways continue to fall into disrepair. We have been charged with determining CAT's financial wherewithal and their capacity to finance the cost of infrastructure and development at FCAL. It took many demands to acquire this information, as they were not forthcoming with their financials. Proponents of the deals continue to speak of great benefits to the town financially. Will taxpayers really benefit financially when CAT has been clear from the beginning that they will seek every tax break from the town in our IDA? With a low price tag on this piece, what is our assurance they will not flip it shortly after the sale? Lastly, it only takes a simple Google search to bring up articles of alleged bribery involving public officials in other cities. Why would 555 jeopardize a councilwoman's integrity by inviting her into New York City for a private meeting, and why would she take that risk? Nader Girmazian shouted at the conclusion of a town work session that we should kiss them for coming to Riverhead. I beg to differ, as Riverhead deserves more. Riverhead's FCAL property is a prime location for businesses in the Northeast. A large parcel, it has 2 runways, and Long Island has a strong workforce. A key component of finding of qualified and eligible, in my considered opinion, is confidence in the applicant. As a result of their behavior through this process, any confidence I might have had has long since eroded. Notwithstanding my sincere effort to keep an open mind and evaluate this application objectively and in good faith, I cannot emerge from all that we have seen here with any confidence in this applicant's qualification and eligibility. With all the time that has passed, with all the conferences and hearings we've had, with all the documentation we have received, and with so much more sought from them in vain, and with all the questions that still linger, there is no doubt in my mind that Calverton Aviation and Technology has not only shaken my confidence, but also that of the vast segment of our Riverhead community. The time has come for us to realize our own value and negotiate deals that are in Riverhead's best interest and not developers. It is imperative that we look ahead and do what's right for our children and future generations. We do not have to accept substandard deals such as this one. I do not find CAT qualified and eligible based on a weak development plan that does not ensure jobs or great long-term economic benefits to Riverhead Town. Let's put this flawed deal to rest and move forward with new energy and a fresh perspective. I vote no.
Hubbard.
In 2015,
when I was campaigning for town council, I stated several times that I would aggressively pursue the sale of the EPCAL property. This was an extremely important decision to be made for the town of Riverhead, certainly not one to be taken lightly. In fact, it will probably be the most significant decision I will make as an elected official. After my election, I worked with the town board and our real estate agents from Cushman and Wakefield. I visited the site with two potential suitors, Suffolk County Industrial and Lincoln Equities. After comparing offers from both companies, we agreed, as a board, to pursue an agreement with Suffolk County Industrial. Shortly thereafter, it was determined that Suffolk County Industrial was having issues regarding funding for the purchase. A decision was made to move on and look for other, more viable suitors. Around this same time, Daniel Preston and Illuminati showed interest in buying EPCAL. However, finances, along with a multitude of negative media reports, surfaced regarding Daniel Preston and Illuminati. My interest in the project was suspicious at best. There were also concerns that housing would become a factor in the project, along with the inclusion of approximately 1,000 acres that were not developable as per the DEC. Daniel Preston was busy trying to find a partner to help with the purchase. He contacted John Castamatidis, and the two began discussing a potential partnership. I went into New York City with former Supervisor Walter and former Deputy Supervisor Jill Lewis. We met with John Castamatidis and his team. I left that meeting feeling that Mr. Castamatidis was not 100% on board with the partnership. Needless to say, I was correct. Mr. Preston then presented an alternative partnership to the board, 555 and the Ghermezian family. Under the advice of our outside legal counsel, a meet and greet was set up between 555 and the town board. Councilwoman Giglio and I met with members of the 555 team at Town Hall. Since I had the housing portion removed from the contract, one of my main concerns was the approximately 1,000 acres that were included in the sale of the property. My first question to 555 was, and I quote, "If the 1,000 undevelopable acres become developable sometime down the road, would you be willing to reimburse the town for the property?" Mr. Ghermezian responded that this was the contract they were brought in on and that they would not be willing to reimburse the town at a later date. He did indicate that if that property ever became developable, the town would benefit via the tax base it created and the availability of jobs it would produce. My next concern was 555's willingness to partner with Daniel Preston and Illuminati, given the published reports about his prior business dealings. 555 responded by stating they were not interested in Daniel Preston and Illuminati for their business sense, but rather for their ability to invent and produce within the ever-changing field of aviation. Sometime thereafter, 555 announced the formation of CAT. It included Daniel Preston as a limited partner with no voting powers. This project now had my attention. The qualified and eligible hearings took place. Questions were asked and answered. Information was provided and speakers were able to make their inquiries. I spent countless hours reading up on and conducting my own research on 555. Our attorneys provided confidential material for us to digest. I spoke with dozens and dozens of town residents, some via text, some via email, and some by phone. Many residents have approached me while I have been out and about in town or shopping at a local store. I read all the comments, media articles, and the blogs. I've listened to all the concerns from those opposed to the project, as well as those residents in favor of moving forward with the sale of EPCAL to this entity. I requested more financial disclosure from 555 while we were awaiting the decision from the Ethics Board concerning a fellow council person. 555 provided that requested information along with a better scoping plan. During this time, 555 also announced the purchase of a property in Brookhaven Town. They indicated that the Brookhaven property acquisition was intended to complement the aviation and technology site that they want to build at EPCAL. This increased my interest even more in supporting the CAT project. Last December, I voted against the contract going forward. I did not support the contract in substance. I did not wish to just throw in the approximately 1,000 acres of undevelopable land for free. The contract vote still passed 3-2, with Councilwoman Giglio voting with me to reject the contract. Tonight we are here for a different vote. This is a vote to determine if CAT is qualified and eligible to purchase and develop EPCAL as per the contractual agreement provided by the town. Former Congressman George Hochbruckner was instrumental in having the EPCAL property turned over to the town some 20 years ago. It was gifted to become an economic generator for the area. Over 3,000 acres of land have been preserved outside the fence of EPCAL. With the sale of EPCAL, the property inside the fence will immediately be placed back on the tax rolls after a 20-year hiatus. Much needed construction jobs will be created along with high-paying career opportunities that will help keep our children here on Long Island. After a long and sometimes arduous task of making a determination on this hearing, I believe I have come to the correct decision for the residents of the town of Riverhead. As such, I hereby find CAT qualified and eligible to move forward with the purchase of EPCAL. My vote is yes. Diane, I would like to submit this as part of the record, please. I would like to submit this as part of the record.
Okay, so
Giglio.
I just need to set the record straight, so that 20 years from now, when my kids and my grandkids are reading this record, they know what really happened and what triggered my decisions and my mentality when it comes to deciding whether or not CAT is qualified and eligible. So, the Navy gave us 6,000 acres 20 years ago. 3,000 acres outside the fence was preserved. The Otis Pike Preserve, the buffer for the runways was preserved, and everything inside the fence was to be developed. Everything within the fence was to be developed. In 1994, the Pine Barrens Act came into effect, and it was agreed upon by the town of Brookhaven and by the town of Southampton, but the town of Riverhead held back and said, we're not signing on to this Pine Barrens Act unless you exclude everything from within the fence, except for the 400 acres in the core area. The 400 acres inside the fence of the core area is preserved and will always be preserved. And it's on the map that the town spent nearly $800,000 in going through studies and trying to figure out what the most viable development could be on this property. So Illuminati in 2015 came before me as a town board member and said, we wanna rent the runway and we wanna pay the same thing that Skydive Long Island was paying. I was reluctant, and I was approached by several business owners within the park to say, they're a great business, they bought the old Skydive building for $3 million, they're gonna build a 30,000 square foot addition onto it, they're gonna create 100 high-paying jobs, and they're going to improve the runways. None of that happened. So I was very reluctant to ever consider Illuminati qualified and eligible. As a matter of fact, I voted no all the way through, but did get into the definitive agreement, taking the recreation trail out of the property so that our residents could get a benefit from this property by using a free, non-motorized recreational trail in a safe environment that's fenced in, so our families and our kids could ride a trail and feel safe. And it is very valuable, and I hear it from a lot of people in town. So I took the rec trail out. I insisted that there were no housing. As a matter of fact, I voted no for the zoning when we first adopted it for this property because it had housing in it. And that was my statement. It had housing and retail in it, so I would not support the zoning. I insisted that the housing be, that there be a covenant, that there will not be any housing. I also insisted that there be a covenant that there be no commercial air traffic, that it can't be listed on the aviation charts or location maps or fueling,
and no residential uses at all. And as a matter of fact, it's in the definitive agreement. It's in the definitive agreement on page number 12, item number 11, where it says, "A covenant and restriction to be referenced in the deed and contained in a separate document to be executed at closing, providing that the property will not be, 1, used to operate a commercial passenger airport, or 2, listed on aviation charts or maps as a location to which aeronautical services such as fueling, hangaring, tie-down, and parking, aircraft rental, aircraft maintenance, and flight instruction are provided to the general public." It also says in here that there shall not be any residential units on this property. So, in June of 2017, we got the letter of intent from Illuminati in April of 2017 that said that they wanted to build a aerospace park, that they were going to bring aerospace back to the Grumman site because aerospace is the future of the industry. So in June of 2017, they were going to partner with Red Apple Realty. And we all knew that Red Apple Realty had money and was capable of developing properties. But when members of the board went into the city to go and meet with the owner of Red Apple Realty, the owner didn't even know that we had 2 runways on the property. And those 2 board members came back very discouraged, and I was very discouraged also because I was really hoping that someone had found Illuminati and was willing to partner with them that was capable of building out a project such as this. I pushed to terminate the letter of intent after I heard that information, and our attorneys sent a letter saying that they had 30 days to either go into a definitive agreement or to walk away. I insisted on the deadline to terminate because I didn't feel Illuminati on their own was qualified and eligible. In December of 2017, there was a resolution that was put up scheduling the qualified and eligible with 555 Realty as a partner with Illuminati to form CAT, Calverton Aviation and Technology. I voted no. I didn't know who 555 was, never heard of them, I just wanted to end it and remarket the property. In January of 2018, I voted no to reschedule the qualified and eligible, but the meeting was scheduled by the other board members and the date was given. On February 27, 2018, we had the first qualified and eligible hearing. I had several questions, but I was overruled by the rest of the board who decided that the public should ask questions first and not the town board members. I listened to almost 5 hours of testimony and had 12 pages of notes that I was unable to ask a single question of this organization, Calverton Aviation and Technology. So, again, I listened, just as I listened with Red Apple Realty Group. On March 7th, I attended a Chamber of Commerce meeting at the Residence Inn, Marriott Residence Inn, and I heard the owners of the 555 giving the presentation saying that we heard the public about Daniel Preston and their confidence in Daniel Preston. And that's why we have decided that we are going to make him a minority partner without voting rights as to what happens on the property. And I said, do you have that in writing? And they said, no, but we'll get it. They asked me to come in and meet with them, or they asked me actually to have a meeting with them. They were willing to do it here in Town Hall, or in the town of Riverhead, or in the city, or wherever. I didn't want to inconvenience them. I wanted my questions answered. And doing my due diligence as a board member, on my own dime, I went into the city and I met with them. They answered all my questions. And I listened again. They also gave me a letter from Daniel Preston saying that he was a minority partner and that he was going to be taking off the board of directors and decision rights were going to be taken away from him. I came back, I was elated. I emailed that letter to my fellow board members and to our outside counsel the very next morning. There was nothing to hide. It was full disclosure that I went in and had a meeting. On March 12, 2018, in my meeting in the city, as I said, they gave me the answers. They answered all my questions. I believe that this project is in the best interest of the town of Riverhead for job creation during construction and for our kids and our grandkids. We have owned the property for 20 years. The day we close on this property, we'll be collecting $4 million in property taxes. That's $80 million lost over the last 20 years of revenue that this town has not taken, but it has cost the taxpayers of this town to maintain this property. Aerospace is the future. Satellite, orbit, rockets, it's the future. Coding, computers, robotics. That's what my freshman in high school at Riverhead High School is learning. Coding and robotics and 3D printing and learning how to take composites and make something of them. That's the aerospace industry. That's the military defense of the future. The old Grumman is gone. Gone. Long time. And so are the jobs they took it with it when they left. These are the jobs of the future. 40 million when they close. 4 million taxes on vacant land, and there are no tax breaks on vacant land. I'm glad Daniel Preston found 555, or the 555 found Daniel Preston. I'm satisfied that they are qualified and eligible. It has been 7 months of ethics complaints by people that want to see this built as a racetrack, as a solar farm, as a, what was the other thing they wanted? Racetrack, solar farm, oh, and a state park, another state park. We need the construction jobs. We need the long-term, high-paying jobs. We need a chance for our kids. And in my opinion, and this being the biggest decision in my tenure of being on the board for 9 years, this is the biggest decision I'll ever have to make. And I find Kat qualified and eligible, and I vote yes.
Wooten.
I did not write a speech, but I can tell you, if 20 years from now my daughter looks up this record to read it, I'm gonna find out, what in the world are you talking about? 11 years on the board, I can tell you, my first vote as a councilman in 2008, very first vote I had to do was a vote no on Ski Mountain, because I thought it was the wrong turn for Riverhead. There was no subdivision, there was no boundaries, it was just a pie in the sky dream. So I voted no on that, that overruled, so we went through the machination over 8 years and that stuff. But I did read why we got that property, and we got that property for one reason only, to create an economic engine and stimulus for this town and for this county, to replace the jobs that were being lost by Grumman's leaving, and to put a sustainable tax base in place. That's it. You would think that Calverton is this great oasis. It's really not. You can talk to our Cushman & Wakefield, and I'm sorry that you didn't do a good job marketing it, because we were told tonight that you didn't do a good job marketing it. But Calverton's in a unique location on Long Island. It's not the most desirable for that type of work because of where it is, location, infrastructure, how to get to it. But yet we have a company that's willing to come in and embrace what was there 30 years ago, 40. My father worked at Grumman's in the 60s. And they want to put aviation back there and technology. I think it's a good fit. I really, really do. And anybody in their right mind don't think that the Gleasians and 555 don't have the money or $40 million to buy this property? Really? Do you really think that? With all the properties and all the assets they own worldwide, all the companies they own worldwide, I don't think it's a matter of even, I'm not even gonna question whether they have the ability to pay for it. The thing comes down to what are they gonna develop? And I'm worried about the future. And when this thing gets sold and it gets developed, it's not gonna be my generation. My generation's spent already. It's gonna be the next generation. It's gonna be Olivia, my daughter, and your children, and your grandchildren. That's the ones that's gonna be able to stay on Long Island like I did, and my mother and grandmother. You know, generations are staying here, but now we have a reason to keep our children here and keep our next generation here, because I think it's really gonna create jobs, and I think we really can put a handle on it. So it's not gonna be a casino. Besides, the state gaming already made the decision that that's not even available for casinos anyway. So, without getting too far away, I'm just gonna say that I've been pretty straightforward since day one with this, and I was the only councilman in December that voted for the contract, and I'll wear that hat because I absolutely believe that this is the destiny for Riverhead. It's about time it happens, and I vote yes.
The resolution was adopted.
I didn't vote.
Oh, sorry. Well, that's true. Supervisor.
Almost adopted.
Well, I mean, I just wanna go back to the fact that I think that, you know, there are two people on this board that were on the board when the contract was, first proposed, who were opposed to the contract because they felt it was not a good contract in the best interest of Riverhead. That contract has not changed. Once again, I go back to the trust but verify. And I think the vision that everybody has spoken about up here on the board, I think we all agree that it's a wonderful vision to come to Riverhead here and to help support jobs and to help support construction guards and to help us go into the future. But I still have not seen anything that, to substantiate that vision with the promises that they've made to us. So I have to vote no on this.
The resolution was adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we have another resolution, yes?
Yes,
That I wanted to, make part of the meeting, which would be the Town of Riverhead Community Development Agency deeding the recreation trail to the Town of Riverhead so that the Town of Riverhead could access the $150,000 in grant money to build the remainder of the trail, because the Dormitory Authority of the State of New York cannot give the grant money to another authority. They can only give it to a municipality. So I have asked for that resolution to be prepared. I am told by the town attorney that we need 5 people that support it to vote for it. So if, I know that I have emailed all of you, I don't know what your opinion is on it yet, but the contractor is out there working. We'd like to keep them working so that we could get the trail completed before the asphalt plants close, and I would like to vote on it tonight.
I certainly don't, if this is just
Well,
simply a transfer from
yeah.
CDA to the town,
Well,
that's
if
all.
you wanna do this, first off, Jody, you have to you're asked to take the resolution off the floor?
Yeah, but why am I gonna ask to take it off the floor if I don't have 5 votes to take it off the floor? Just so
Because
that,
you have to take the resolution off the floor and see if you have the votes to.
You need 5 votes to take it off the floor.
Correct.
Correct.
Right. So I make a motion, it's resolution number 11 going?
Yes.
I make a motion, we take resolution number 11 off the floor, and council is here to answer any questions, if anybody has any concerns about how it may affect the definitive agreement with CAT.
I'll second the motion to take it off the floor.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent,
Yes.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Giglio,
Yes.
Wooten,
Yes.
Jen Smith.
Yes.
The resolution to take the vote to take the resolution off the floor was approved.
I make a motion, Dawn, can you just read the resolution, because I didn't have it in my,
I can read it.
Q-tip.
I have it right here. Oh, you
The
got it?
title?
You got it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not printed on the draft,
No,
so
it
isn't.
it's, authorizes the transfer of the recreational trail at EPCAL from the Community Development Agency to the town of Riverhead.
So moved.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent,
Yes.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Giglio,
Yes.
Wooten,
Yes.
Jen Smith.
Yes.
The resolution was adopted.
Good, let's get that.
Thank you.
Let's get that money.
Good.
All right, can I have a first and any other comments? Can I have a you guys, wait a minute. Can I have a first and second to close the CDA meeting and open the town board meeting?
I make a motion to close this community development agency and to reopen the town board meeting, so moved.
Seconded.
I don't know.
Who seconded?
I'm just trying to get my thing closed out here.
Please.
Closing the CDA meeting, open the town board meeting?
Who was the second?
I'll second.
Okay.
I moved.
We both, Tim and
Vote?
I
What?
already seconded.
Jim moved,
I
Jim
moved
moved,
it.
Tim seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Okay, so we're opening the town board meeting.
Okay.
Okay. At this point, I ask anybody if they have any comments on the resolution. This is approving the action taken by the Community Development Agency of the Town of Riverhead and designating Calverton Aviation and Technology as a qualified and eligible sponsor for the purchase and development of approximately 1,643 acres located within the premise known as the Enterprise Park at Calverton, EPCAL, consistent with the goals and objectives of the planned development zoning district adopted on August 16th, 2016, the Town of Riverhead Comprehensive Plan, and amended on August 2nd, 2016, in the Town of Riverhead Calverton Aviation and Technology Urban Renewal on August 2nd, 2016. Can I have a first and second?
I move that.
I'll second it.
First and seconded vote, please.
Kent,
No.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Iglio.
I'd like to ask that the minutes of the CDA meeting from this evening, resolution number 10, be incorporated into the town board minutes meeting for this vote, and I will vote yes.
Wooten,
Yes.
Jen Smith.
No. I would just like to make a comment at this time. I'm hoping that Calverton Aviation and Technology, having heard some of the town comments and having a few days before coming to closing, will take some of their remarks, since this was a qualified and eligible hearing scheduled before we came into office, that you might consider sitting down to negotiate possibly preserving some of the land, at the EPCAL site. So can I have a first and second to close the meeting?
Motion first?
I'll second.
All in favor?
I'll say yes to that.
Opposed? So carried.
Thank you for your emoji there, buddy, thank you very much.